Not to be a negative Nancy, but the art community has so many real issues, and the fact that everyone seems to be overlooking them is kind of frustrating. Hi guys, gals, gays, and theys, it's Omnia, and welcome to my channel. So I know I'm always talking about all the issues that the art community has and all the things I think the art community should work on or fix, but the reason I'm always calling these things out is because I really wish we could improve and be better as a platform, but sometimes it honestly feels like no one cares. I've already touched on a couple of the things the art community does that I absolutely hate in the past, like the underlying racism, unnecessary real art videos, and the dumb controversy in relation to tracing and referencing, but those are just some of the things. As unbelievable as it sounds, there's more. The first thing on my list is insecurity in the art community and online artists in general. The sheer amount of times some artists hit me up in my Instagram DMs and are like,
"Oh my gosh, your art is so amazing and unique and cool. I could never draw like you. My art sucks."
And oh my gosh, wait, that reminds me. I've made a TikTok about this. Let me just insert it right here.
Ciao. Anyway, so.
And obviously I appreciate those compliments so much, and I think that's so sweet, and I love knowing that someone looks up to my art and enjoys it for what it is, but that does not allow you to put your own craft and talent down. And if I'm being honest, I used to struggle with this a lot when I was just learning how to draw digitally too. The only difference was my art was actually shit. But besides the point, I would look up to amazing digital artists and aspire to be them and compare my art to them, which made absolutely no sense because the artists I looked up to had years of practice under their belt while I was just a baby tween not knowing what to do with the Wacom Intuos I bought for my own birthday. It just wasn't a fair comparison. Besides, I don't really know how to respond or what to say when people tell me that. Like, again, I want to say thank you so much, but I also want to yell at you to stop putting yourself down in order to lift me up. I hate being one of those Pinterest moms who are like,
"Oh my god, live, laugh, love, ooh."
But if I have to say it, I have to say it. Recognizing the beauty in one thing doesn't detract from the beauty of another thing. In other words, just because you think my art is pretty doesn't mean your art isn't. Beauty can coexist, and my cool art doesn't equal your uncool art. I don't know. Some artists just are so freaking overprotective of their art, and then there are other artists who are just like,
"Ew no, my art is trash."
And I'm tired. Accept my compliments. Your art is great. It might not be life-changing or perfectly symmetrical or the most amazing thing I have ever seen, but it's really rad and it's absolutely amazing. Keep up the great work. You're cool. Wow. Love your art. Yes. Keep on trucking, you big dork. The second thing I sorta kinda hate about the art community is kind of the opposite of the first point, which is no, my art isn't actually perfect either. As much as you look up to me or other artists, there will always be room for improvement. I feel that so strongly, in fact, that even when I'm proud of something that I've made or really happy with the way a piece turned out, I still accept constructive criticism on literally everything I ever create. It's not bad to admit that you have room to improve. There's still so much I want to learn, and I think the key to being a successful artist is loving what you make while also pursuing a higher level and continuously teaching yourself more things. Heck, even sometimes when I'm editing my speed paints, I see things that I missed out on doing or things that I think I could have done better or lines that I think are sloppy. It's great that you're proud of what you create, but it's also important to show some humility with your art. Maybe your color palette is absolutely fantastic, but the line art needs some improvement. If you can love your art while still maintaining enough distance from it to accept criticism, that will ultimately help you make better art, and that's so great. But the amount of people who just say, "No, your art is perfect, never ever 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 change," is hindering your ability to advance and are not allowing you to improve. Again, don't let support allow you to stagnate. Criticism is okay as long as it's respectful. The third thing I hate about the art community is all the weird shit that goes on. Like, I know that's vague and you're probably going, what the fuck? But I hate talking about this and it's so uncomfortable to me, but Can we just briefly mention all the really weird fan service that the art community seems to produce in terms of sexualizing minors and incest and just weird shit? Just, the fetishization of things that don't need to be fetishized, like kids and homoerotic relationships. I don't know. I know a lot of people fetishize same-sex relationships and even minors in anime and manga subsects, and I personally just find it really weird. Oh, and let's not even mention diversity in the art community and the fetishization of foreign/ethnic individuals. Ugh, ew. The more I think about this, the more I hate it here. Oh god, ew. Okay, next point. The fourth worst thing about the art community is, and I've covered this in my previous video, how ignorant it is when it comes to Black, Indigenous, and people of color issues. I've said this a million times, and for some reason, no one seems to care. But I get that the art community is super heckin' white. Like, cool, great, whatever, it's not fine, but okay. It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
The more time I marinate in the art community, the more I watch white artists yell about what is and what isn't racist and accusing people of things that they're not even doing, and I have no words because me and the two other artists of color in the community just sit there quietly, shaking our heads in disbelief, watching the whole shit show unfold before our very eyes. I don't know what to expect from a group of people who act like they've never once spoken to a person from a diverse background, but I guess I expected a little better? I don't know, there's definitely going to be some angry white artist yelling at me in the comments or smashing that dislike button so hard my electricity goes out, but I just want us to do better. I don't think it's a bad thing to call the community out on this. Come on guys, let's just be less weird about Black people on this platform. How about we not say blackwashing is just as bad as whitewashing characters? How about we encourage diversity in the art world? I think it'll all do us a little good. The fifth and last terrible thing about the art community is the famed and iconic gatekeepers. I seriously don't want to get into this, but I know for a fact before even editing this audio that I'm not at 10 minutes yet. So I guess I have no fucking choice. Gosh, the situations I put myself through just to get 12 views. Where do I even begin? Artist gatekeepers are the worst kind of artists you will ever encounter in the art community. So to briefly explain what gatekeeping is, it's basically when someone thinks they have the right to decide who does or does not have access to a certain community or identity. So basically, an artist gatekeeper would be someone who says,
"Oh my god, if you're not socially awkward, own a cat, and have broken your arm when you were 7 years old, you're not a true artist. Only true artists do that."
And it's just so stupid, and it reminds me of the other video I made about real art and how that whole entire sentiment is just plain dumb. Like,
Your art isn't real unless it does this, 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 and this.
hello? Am I hearing this correctly? Are you telling me my art isn't real because it doesn't fit into your preconceived notions of what real art is? What? Maybe I've just evolved into one of those unpopular opinion YouTubers at this point, but I think the only thing that makes you an artist is actually making art. Just like the only thing that makes something real art is art. I don't know. Maybe I'm really pushing the art community to its bitter end. Perhaps I'm getting people to sit on the edge of their seat watching this video. There is some chance your jaw is clenched right now in anticipation for the next controversial thing I'll spit out, but honest to God, I don't even know why gatekeeping even exists in the art community. As I've asked time and time again in my real art video, what is it that we are even arguing about here? Who gave you the authority to say, if you're not blank, you're not a real artist? A legitimate and actual question. Who gave you the authority to dictate what is and isn't art? Fuck out of here with that dumb opinion. No one asked. Hey, listen, I know that was a lot and I covered a bunch of different stuff, some not having absolutely anything to do with the other, but if you have any other opinions about what your top unfavorite things the art community does, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. And if you don't agree with anything I just said, feel free to roast me. I'm also okay with that. I just don't want the comment section to turn into a absolute garbage fire, so please be respectful of differing opinions, of course, except gatekeepers. Gatekeepers aren't welcome here. In the end, I'm just glad that we're having healthy discourse and I have the opportunity to talk openly about things that I think the art community can work on, improve on, and prosper off of once those things are sorted out and or eradicated. You know, because sexualizing minors needs to end. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content I put out, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!